Middle bedroom. My daughter and Judy each faced their own terrifying encounters with the malevolent entities lurking within the confines of the middle bedroom, unaware that I too had encountered something eerily similar. Let's start with my daughter's chilling encounter from the year 1982. Quoting, "Well, I remember when I was real little, about 6 or so, and Anthony, her cousin, and I were sleeping in the back bedroom. I was lying there awake when I heard a bunch of talking and noise coming from Papa's room. I got up and walked as quietly down the hall as I could. I slowly turned the doorknob and peeked in just a little bit. There were a bunch of these ugly creatures with mugs in their hands, like they have at the Renaissance, the ones with the big handles on them. There was a short one near the door, and he just stared at me. They were all different shapes and sizes, and each looked different than the other. They all got quiet and just looked at me. I was really scared. I slowly pulled the door shut and ran back and got into bed. I pulled the covers over my head because I was afraid they would come and get me." End quote. On hearing her story, I recalled the night I heard her coming down the hall and stopping at the middle bedroom. As she paused for a moment, I waited and listened. Then, I heard her run back down the hall to her room. I had thought she had gotten afraid and was coming to get in bed with her mommy, but had changed her mind. Although she could hear the noise from the middle bedroom and back bedroom, I could not hear it from the front bedroom, even though all 3 bedrooms shared a wall. These creatures knew that I was in the front room, and they put a barrier that I should not hear them. Although on some level, I knew they were there. As long as they were leaving me and mine alone, I was not going to bother with them. The next night, I instinctively brought both the children into the room with me to protect them. Fast forward to 1985, Judy, heavy with her second child, was in the front bedroom with her husband. Around midnight, an unsettling murmuring emanated from the middle bedroom, steadily growing in intensity, perplexing the couple. They thought that maybe people had gotten into the house. It sounded like heavy furniture was being scooted across the floor and a party was going on. They were afraid to go and look, so her husband, Lee, opened the window on the side of the house and leaned out as far as he could to see if the middle windows were open. They weren't. Fearful, they knew they had to get out of the house. The only way out, besides going past the middle bedroom, was to climb out the window. Lee climbed out first and helped Judy with her big pregnant belly out. They took off through the schoolyard to the apartment complex and spent the night with a friend. It wasn't until years later that we all shared our own separate stories. Judy delivered her second baby in December. If she had been 7 months pregnant, as she recalls, then this was the month of October. A chilling thought emerged. Could these entities be drawn to this room annually, converging on a pagan holy day in October? Are these creatures using this room as a meeting place once a year? Since the home had no central heat, there was a small space heater in the living room that ran hopelessly at full throttle. On this night, it was bitter cold. In a last-ditch effort to find relief, Judy and Lee placed their blankets on the floor near the only heat in the house. Just in the dead of night, Judy awoke to a mesmerizing sight, a basketball-sized orb of luminous energy hovering just above the floor. Its radiant glow danced with bluish hues, casting an otherworldly aura. Despite her fervent attempts to rouse her slumbering husband, Judy's gaze remained fixed on the undulating mass, her mind grappling with the surreal spectacle before her. Driven by a mix of curiosity and trepidation, Judy extended her hand, only to be met with an electrifying shock that coursed through her arm, jolting her entire being. Feeling her body thus jarred, Lee awoke to ask what happened. Before he could see, the glowing ball passed through the floor and was gone. Judy moaned in agonizing pain as Lee tried to console her. My daughter recounted another chilling incident involving Anthony, Judy's child, where they ventured into the ominous middle bedroom closet. I hadn't been there but heard about it years later. It was a tale that sent shivers down my spine. Anthony had been playing with matches and thought that the dark closet would be a great place to watch the flames. He invited my daughter to come and see. Well, Anthony somehow caught some clothes on fire and he started crying. As panic set in, my daughter tried opening the closet door to get out, but it wouldn't budge. They tried and tried again. Anthony was screaming hysterically by this point, and my daughter commanded in a stern voice, "Open this door, now." And she was immediately able to open the door with ease. I believe that some evil force was trying to hold them in the closet as it caught fire. Throughout the years, many strange things happened. The earliest event was when my mother still lived there and we were toddlers. One night, she had put us all to sleep. She was sitting in the kitchen when she heard small footsteps coming down the hall. She thought that one of us had gotten up, but when she went to check, we were all still asleep. Troy reports that he was lying on the twin bed with one of his knees up and the other leg crossed over. He felt a small child climb up on the bed and try to ride like a bouncy horse. This was a game parents used to play with children. They would sit and cross one leg over the other. They would hold the child's hands and bounce the child on their foot. I heard a child giggle once when my cat startled me. So there was definitely a small child there. The TV, radio, and lights would come on by themselves. Once, Troy was walking through the living room, and suddenly a glass shattered. I don't know what this means in connection with alien activity in our lives. Maybe nothing. I have lived many places after leaving that house where there was no ghostly activity, but the alien abductions continued. Our existence here seems to involve a multitude of dimensions and entities. Judy tells how a black apparition appeared at the end of the hall. They were headed to Arkansas for our grandmother's funeral, and Judy had run back into the house to grab some coats. Suddenly, a black apparition manifested from the shoulders up. She turned to run out of the house. When she got to the front door, it wouldn't open no matter how hard she tugged. Suddenly, the door gave way and she went flying. She swears she never touched the front porch but landed in the yard. Her husband, Lee, was waiting in the car and saw the shocked look on her face. They headed out and were on Highway 59 North when Judy said something like, "It's a shame that Grandma died." A voice in the back seat said, "Who gives a shit?" Judy answered, "Well, I do." That's when Lee turned and said, "It's in the car with us, isn't it?" The day had turned to dusk when Lee saw a black truck coming and saw it move into their lane, threatening a head-on collision. Lee swerved off the road and their large 4,000-pound LTD hit a ditch and became airborne. It managed to land between two fence posts but had broken an axle amidst the chaos. Lee had looked in the rearview mirror and there was no trace of the menacing black truck he had seen only moments earlier. It's possible that the spectral entity within the car distorted Lee's perception, conjuring a phantom threat that existed solely within the realm of the supernatural. I just realized that I missed telling of a very interesting alien experience that happened before Roy had died. Since this chapter is relatively short, I will add it here. We were teenagers, and a boy in the neighborhood had a minor crush on me. His name was Ricky. He was a bit of a womanizer, meaning that he bullied them. I was at the kitchen sink, and he sat in the living room. He thought it would be funny to start calling me the B word. I warned him to stop, but he just mockingly laughed at me. I turned without warning and threw a coffee cup through the breezeway. This is an opening between two rooms to allow air circulation at the top while providing a privacy wall below. I actually couldn't see Ricky because, like I said, he was sitting. Although I hadn't aimed, that cup hit him right in the temple and knocked him out. All I knew is that he went silent. I turned back to the sink, and the next thing I knew was Roy coming through the front door yelling, "Ricky, what are you doing? Stop!" Then he said that he felt something was wrong and that he needed to get back to the house right away. And this was why, because Ricky was poised to throw that coffee cup right at the back of my head. Ricky felt justified in striking me with the cup because I had initially thrown it at him, hitting him in the temple and causing him to lose consciousness. However, upon reflection, I realized that the cup couldn't have reached him from where he was positioned against the dividing wall. It would not surprise me if something supernatural caused it to strike him precisely, given everything else that was going on in that house. It seems plausible that the Greys manipulated time or altered timelines to orchestrate this sequence of events. I have two memories of this event. One is where I am hit in the back of the head, and for a split second, I know that something had gone wrong with my brain. I just couldn't think right, and I fall to the floor. The second memory is that I'm still standing at the sink, and Roy walks in to stop Ricky. It is very likely that the blow to the back of the head would have caused serious damage, and for sure, Ricky would have left the scene.